All right, video 2. So, needless to say, I got off the meth. I was clean all of September. Got a job for KM Wood Products in October 2023, and they put me right on the road. It was crazy. God works in such crazy ways. When I had got the job, I had pulled into this company in Lincoln where I did work, and was trying to sell some trucking equipment that a friend of mine had. And when I pulled in and pulled up, the dispatcher Ron was out in the parking lot. He just pulled in, and I start talking to him about this headache rack that I got for sale. And he says, "Are you looking for a job? Are you a driver?" And I say, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am." And we start working our way towards the office, going inside. He says, "Can you do oversize?" I was like, "No, but I can learn." This is like a half mile from my house on the same road, like right down the street. We get inside, and he says, "Well, we'll pay you $2,000 a week salary." And I'm like, $2,000 a week salary? I was like, "I got 4 felonies." He's like, "Well, we can work with that." So, I'm excited. I was making $600 a month, barely. And then nothing during the winter. And somebody to offer me $2,000 a week salary blew my mind, So Kendall walks in, the boss, and Ron says to Kendall, he says, "Hey, this guy's looking for a job. He's got 4 felonies." Kendall says, "Well, that's all right." I looked at him, I said, "For murder?" He said, "Well, you're here now, aren't you?" And I was like, "Dang, that's a good answer," but it wasn't for murder. It was for drugs, failure to pay taxes for selling drugs and distribution and whatnot. So anyways, I get excited, and I tell Ron, I say, "Hey, do you guys believe in prayer?" Because this was an answer to prayer for me, and I was excited about it. And Kendall gets up and walks out of the room. So I'm like, oh boy. Ron says, "Yeah, we are a Christian company." I'm like, here comes Kendall back in the office. He's got the application. He opens up the application to the very back page, says, "Sign here, go do a UA, we'll put you in a truck." I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a miracle. So I go, I do it, pass my UA, come back. And so Ron gives me a ride to Joplin from Lincoln to go pick up this truck, W900 Kenworth 2015, or it was a 2018, had the Cummins performance in it, ungoverned. It was a nice truck. And I hadn't been in a truck in 10 years, so it was kind of freaky, actually. It was a crazy experience, actually. So Ron asked me on the way, he says, "Did Kendall tell you why he hired you?" And I'm like, "No, but this is a blessing, I know that." Ron starts to tell me, he says, "We was down at the Mexican restaurant 2 driveways down from the office, and Kendall prays and asks God in front of the secretary and Ron and the dispatchers and everybody, like he does. He prays. He's a prayed man. He says, 'Lord, send us some drivers.'" They had somebody quit that day out in Washington, leave a truck, from my understanding. And Kendall tells Ron, he says, "You pulled out of the parking lot. I went to pull out. Here comes this guy on a Harley by. I pull out behind him. He turns his blinker on, pulls in the office, talking about, 'Hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you guys believe in prayer?'" And he just literally had prayed 20 minutes before they, just right then, and asked God to send him a driver. So that was the start at KM Wood Products. So it was awesome. Needless to say, miracle happened. So I get on the road. They work with me, teach me some stuff. And when I first got on the road, I started listening to all the books I'd listened to when I was in jail. I'd read in jail. I started listening to them on Audible. Just to, I don't know, they were good. Dean Koontz books, stuff like that you read in jail, fiction, Until I met this guy on Thanksgiving of 2023. His name's Andre Grant. He's a friend of mine. He's a life coach type person. He wants to be a speaker. He's an encourager. He's a brother in Christ. He's my friend now, And this guy, I walk in the bar to get a ribeye on Thanksgiving, and he's sitting there on the bar. I sit down next to him. We start talking, and he says, first thing to me, he says, "You ready for your life to change forever?" And I'm like, sure, yeah, what's up? So he starts telling me about these books by Robert Kiyasaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and another one by Dale Carnegie, How to Make Friends and Influence People. Books I would have never thought in my life to even listen to at all. But he gave me these books on Audible, and I listened to them, and then I learned. I was hooked on this, starting to see another life. Like I'm driving hours during the day, 11 hours a day, and I took my time that I was wasting on fantasy and fiction books and just trying to not learn anything, to now I was learning that you don't have to be rich to be rich. You don't have to have wealth to earn wealth. You don't have to. Anybody can do this. Anybody, I believe if you trust in the Lord and you seek ye first the kingdom, all these things will be added to you. That's Matthew 6:33 in the New Testament, King James. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. So if I started listening to this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, changed my life, got all the books, and was going gung-ho for that. The books teach you how to, you either have assets or you have liabilities. So an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. And mind you, up until recently, I'm really bad with money. It's a progress. We're going to go this journey together. So I started applying this in my small little world of nothing that I had. I owned a trailer. It was a shithole on 20 acres. That was not I rented the lot that it sat on. And Robert Kiyosaki, in his book, he talks about how money's not real. Everything's agreements. Everything's is handshakes and agreements and business ideas and having things on paper. And there's your credit score doesn't really matter. If you can show on paper a solid business plan, banks want to lend you money. That's their job. That's what they make money by lending money. That's how it works. So I thought to myself, I need to turn this liability I've got from my trailer. It's $150 going out of my pocket every month. I thought to myself, well, if I do Airbnb, I'll be able to rent my place out and it'll be an asset. I surely would make, more than $150 a month out of rented out. I'm gone all the time on the road. So, then I started thinking, nobody wants to rent a shithole trailer. Excuse my language, but that's the truth. And so I started looking around at double wides. About $89,000 for a new double wide. $100,000 set and everything set up. So I started using ChatGPT and figuring out my business plan for Airbnb, how it would work, what it could make. If you haven't used ChatGPT, I don't know what you're waiting on. It's awesome. So I went to my loan officer at the bank in Coal Camp, and I tell him, I want to do this Airbnb. I give him my business plan. I give him my loan proposal, all nicely done, printed out, and everything legit. And he says, "How much do you want?" I was like, "Well, I'm liking 200 grand. Get it paid for, get it set, get some furnishings, get everything going so it could be rented out." Another thing the book talks about is OPM, other people's money. There's good debt and bad debt. So if you get my Harley, bad debt. A mortgage payment of some sort that it's paying for itself. That's good debt. So I didn't mind taking a loan because I didn't plan on paying for it. I planned on renting it out and having it paid for itself. And I just sit back, and when I was in town, I would live there. So my loan guy, he looks at me. He says, "How much you want?" I say 200 grand. He says, "Well, He gets on his computer. He pulls up Google Maps. He says to me, if you can get your landlord to sell you this acre and a half, so you have an entrance to your property that you own and the land that the trailer is sitting on, the mobile home, double wide, we'll do it. That way we'll have collateral. Well, my landlord wasn't going to break his land up, but that little failure wasn't a failure to me, because the book also teaches the only way you can lose or not win or fail is by not trying. That's the only way. Anytime you get a no, that's still a good thing. That's learning. So I'm learning stuff I never had no idea. I never thought in a million years that I could walk into a bank, give a guy a business plan, and show him how I'm going to make money and what I want to do and what I want to do with this money, and have this guy say, yeah, okay, we'll do that. It blew my mind. So I walked out of there happy. I didn't get my loan. I knew I wasn't going to get the land because my landlord, he wasn't going to sell. So, but I was encouraged. That's when the idea for Airbnb really sparked in my mind. That's when I knew I'm going to do this. I'm just not going to do it in that trailer. So, anyway, I guess this video is long enough. It's been 11 minutes. So I guess tune into episode 3 for more. Like, share, and subscribe. God bless everybody.